Well guys, as you can see, I'm basically still in my workout clothing. I just got done with Revenge of the Sith. What are we talking about today, guys? For the first time in 2022, I've watched all 6 Star Wars movies. Yeah guys, to tell you the truth, I've never seen any Star Wars movie, including Mandalorian or Boba Fett, nothing like that. I never seen any, but I finally sat down starting last week watching all 6 Star Wars movies, and I finished them about 15 minutes ago today, Revenge of the Sith. So guys, let's get into it. How we're gonna break this up, I guess you'd say for the most part, is we're gonna break it down by trilogies, right? So the first half of this video, part 1, will be the original trilogy, give you guys my in-depth thoughts and what I rate all 3 of the original trilogy, and then the prequels will be in part 2. Now I haven't decided if this video becomes too long, I will break it into 2 videos, but if it's pretty short, then I'll keep it all at one. But let's get into it. So just to start off, guys, let's talk about the original trilogy. I overall enjoyed the whole original trilogy. I had a big I wouldn't say big best, but I had an amazing fun time with these films. But let's start off, guys, with the main negatives that I have with the original trilogy. And basically the negatives are all the same. Sound mixing. I bought the original trilogy on 4K, right? And the sound mixing basically reminds me of score and music over dialogue. Now, Tenet, directed by Christopher Nolan, has that problem a lot worse, right? But overall, in these 3 films, there are times when the music, which is an incredible score with all 3 films by John Williams, it's just the score is louder than I can hear the dialogue, especially like when you can't understand Yoda for the most part. So there's that, and that is my main nitpick. Let's get into Star Wars A New Hope. Let's kick off what I really like about Star Wars A New Hope. I love the score by John Williams. The action and special effects are out of this world for a movie that came out in the late 70s. The fight sequences, the choreography is phenomenal as well. So right away with our protagonist, understand who Luke is. He's this young teenage kid for the most part, and he struggles his struggles being a human, and how he starts to realize that he has more power to himself than he realizes, say to speak, and how the Jedi Knight we all know and love, Obi-Wan, basically comes and recruits him and teaches him about the Force. And that's something really cool to watch for the first time, not gonna lie. As much as I love the whole cast in this film, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, I love them all. But something about seeing this young teenager, Luke, being recruited by Obi-Wan, just something feels right about it, right guys? And there's not a lot to say about that, but let's get into the supporting cast or characters for the most part. Now, you could argue that they are the main characters as well, but I think to myself that the main character of this, at least of Star Wars, this whole trilogy, is Luke for the most part. So if we want to talk about the supporting cast like Chewbacca or Chewie or Leia or Han Solo or C-3PO or R2-D2, that's basically all of them, and they are so cool fucking characters. It still baffles me that George Lucas, the director of all 6 of these films, was able to create something like this, and it's so phenomenal. But these are one of the best supporting characters I've ever seen in a film. It's phenomenal. Each one of these characters they have their own style, and they have their own struggles, and they are just so developed correctly, and they are so interesting at the same time. And I love that. That's something I never really thought I would say in a film before, that everything is just firing off of all cylinders. Personally, I think one of my favorite supporting characters is Han Solo. I love him. I love his character background of being a smuggler. Now, I will say this. I did go see Solo. That's the only Star Wars film I've ever seen. I went with a couple buddies and saw it. And overall for that, I didn't really care for it, but I always liked seeing him meet Lando, played by Danny Glover. And I thought that was always cool, but I just never got invested in time to see the original trilogy, but that all changed now. And I love Han Solo. Harrison Ford is a phenomenal casting for Han Solo, and I think he's a badass with Chewbacca. Who, really, come on. And the antagonist, Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader, here's something weird, all right? When I was younger, I always dressed up as Darth Vader. I never watched the films though. I always had the lightsaber and everything like that. But I never watched the films. It's kind of weird, right? But I have to say that Darth Vader, Dark Side of the Force, the Stormtroopers are so fucking badass. I love each and one of these fucking, the Death Star, it's so badass. They're fucking spaceships. It's awesome. The Millennium Falcon though is, come on now, I want to get that Lego set. I really do. I was thinking about looking at how much it costs and I wanted to build it, maybe even make a video for it. But Darth Vader, fucking badass, guys. He really is. But let's sum this up though. I really want to say that this film shows how immersive this universe, this world of Star Wars is, and I am so happy to say that from the beginning with this film, I'm like, I'm ready, caught in. Now I want to watch the next one, Empire Strikes Back. And it baffles me after just watching Star Wars A New Hope, how George Lucas was able to make these characters and create this world. It's phenomenal. But guys, I will be giving Star Wars A New Hope an 8 out of 10. I had a fun blast time with it. My nitpicks, which will be the nitpicks for The Empire Strikes Back and the nitpicks for Return of the Jedi, is the sound mixing overall. But from a cinematic cinematography standpoint, the score, the visuals, the action in this film, phenomenal. But an 8 out of 10. Now let's get into The Empire Strikes Back. Alright guys, so The Empire Strikes Back, after the rebels are brutally overpowered by the Empire on the ice planet, I had to write this down, Hoth, Luke begins Jedi training with Yoda and with his friends and pursues Darth Vader and a bounty hunter known as Boba Fett. Now, yeah, I took that plot synopsis, but so I'm not really going to break down everything like I did with Star Wars A New Hope. We know the characters that are in this film, besides an addition of Boba Fett, who is a badass as well, and Jabba the Hutt, who is really fat and a blob for the most part. Also Lando, and Lando's actually really cool, even though he kind of comes off as a dick at first. I mean, but also Han Solo's a dick too. I guess all smugglers are dicks, right? But yes, we also do get Yoda as well. But all these additions, these minor characters added in, Boba, Lando, Yoda, fucking, they're all cool. I love Yoda. I love Yoda so much. He's awesome in this film. Oh my god, he's awesome. I wish I could understand him a little bit better, but it's alright. But let's get into what I really like. Now, I really want to say that this film is where the story really progresses. Now, I will be saying this at the end of the, after I talk about Return of the Jedi, but it's so hard to rank and talk about this trilogy, because usually if you compare it to like the Dark Knight trilogy or the Spider-Man trilogy, each movie is its own story. But however, with this trilogy, it's all one story. And the same thing with the prequels too. So it is really hard to choose which one's my favorite and how to rank them, because it's all one story. But I'm going off a film basis, so let's get into it. I love The Empire Strikes Back. I love seeing like the bad guys basically get the upper hand in the end of the film and win. The whole dynamic between Luke and Darth Vader is phenomenal. I am your father, Luke. Like shit like that. Like I bet in nowadays, obviously people would complain, but back then in the theater, I would love to see a crowd reaction back then. It would have probably been fucking roaring like what we get today with Spider-Man. But the whole dynamic between that with the John Williams score in this film and the cinematography is phenomenal. There's not much more to say about that. I love the whole Jedi training with Luke and Yoda. Really making Luke learn how to use the Force and train him how to harness his power and how to, basically, it takes time for it. Now, what I've heard about the sequels, Rey just learns and off screen and knows how to handle the Force, which I think is kind of bullshit. That's why I'm not watching the sequels, guys. I'm a good person. I would never do that and watch the sequels. I do love how Luke learns to handle his rage against the Force, and I thought that was an awesome touch. A couple of the action sequences that really stood out to me, I really loved the snow action sequence in the beginning of the film for the most part. It was really unique, and I wasn't expecting it for how the film to start off, but I also love how the film, like I said, ends off a cliffhanger. Now, the lightsaber battles, I forgot to talk about in the first film, A New Hope, and in this one, are phenomenal. I have to say that the Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker lightsaber battle is something that, it was awesome. In the choreography at the time and everything like that, oh my god, guys, I cannot stress this enough. I was like getting goosebumps watching it. For the first time, it is so amazing, guys. It really is. But overall, guys, The Empire Strikes Back, we know what happens at the end of it. Basically ends off cliffhanger. Kind of feels like Avengers Infinity War in a way, where the bad guys, or the dark side wins, and basically the good side are, well, now they're struggling to get everything back together in time for Return of the Jedi. But overall, guys, it's hard to pick this film or Return of the Jedi to be my favorite Star Wars out of the original trilogy. But overall, guys, this is an amazing film, enjoyable watch, and I rate it a 9 out of 10. But let's get into The Last Jedi being my favorite, by a little bit, my favorite Star Wars film out of all 6 films. After a scary mission, we know what happens after the big cliffhanger. We see Jabba the Hutt also has Han Solo in a cryo-like machine. That's how he looks like, that stone, you know, that famous look that I'm talking about. I will say this, I feel like these films, as they progress, the fight sequences and the action sequences as years went on got better. And especially the lightsaber battles and the action sequences in this film, Return of the Jedi, they are incredible. They are mind-blowing for the time being. And I was really impressed with each in one of the fight sequences with Luke. Luke is so confident now. This is how you make good character development. Look at Luke Skywalker through all 3 of these films, and he is awesome in this film. Yes, like obviously I was going to say this again, the sound mixing in the film is a little off, but whatever. I'm putting it away. I'm putting it to the side. All right, guys, I'm going to say this right now. Now, I know I'm in the minority right here, but I know that everybody does love The Empire Strikes Back, probably as their favorite Star Wars film, but I told you by a little bit, Return of the Jedi is my favorite. I love where Luke ends up in this film, how he is the true Jedi, the chosen one, and how the final battle goes through, with the dark side while they rebuild the Death Star and they have to destroy it. I love how he gets closure with his father, Darth Vader. I love how, or I guess you would say considered Anakin, to go back. He gets Anakin to become good again and kill Palpatine, which I thought was so fucking cool. And he gets a little time to talk to his father, Anakin, one-on-one after he removes the mask. And I thought that was something very touching for Luke to have closure. Also, it is kind of weird that Luke kissed his sister Leia. It is weird, but I already heard a lot of memes about that. But I will say also the desert action sequence towards the beginning of the film, or kind of midway, with Boba Fett when he goes into the hole but he's surprisingly still alive, with Jabba the Hutt and Han Solo, Chewie, and Luke. It was awesome. I'm a sucker for desert sequences, and I really enjoyed that. And I will say this, I think my favorite lightsaber is the green lightsaber. Now, I haven't seen The Mandalorian yet, and I heard there's a lot of other different colors, so we'll see. But overall, right now, my favorite lightsaber is the green lightsaber. I think it's dope, it's different, and it's awesome. I feel like, though, I will say that I feel like at the end of this film, each character that was introduced throughout all 3 of these movies got the right closure, got to the right place that they needed to be, and they felt true to what they should have been. That's why I think George Lucas really handled this 3rd film incredibly. I have to say, like I said, The Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film. I rate it a 9.5 out of 10. Just a little bit more than The Empire Strikes Back, but I love The Empire Strikes Back as well. And I love Star Wars A New Hope as well. I really do, but Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi are my cup of tea for the most part. But like I was saying, guys, before earlier in the video, that me rating these original trilogy films as singular films, it's so hard to do. The reason why is it really does feel like a whole 6-hour epic for the most part. It's not individual stories, it's one whole story continually, and that's awesome to have. So it is hard to rate each singular one, but overall, listen, I'm a movie critic, so I can review them. I will say that after this, I respect these Star Wars movies after watching all 6. I do. I'm not going to be a hardcore Star Wars fan. I really won't be, but I will say that I will watch them now, and I will, and I had fun with them. So I'm not going to be always diving into the lore of Star Wars. I probably won't watch the Clone Wars, to tell you the truth. I will watch Mandalorian, and I will watch Boba Fett, and I will have reviews for them, but I will never like a hardcore Star Wars fan, and that is what it is. But guys, let's get into part 2, the prequels. Well guys, we are here, part 2, the prequels. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Phantom Menace, 2 Jedi escape a hostile blockade, I'm reading in the synopsis, to find allies and come across a young boy known as Anakin Skywalker, who may be able to bring balance to the Force. Alright, so I watched this yesterday and I took all the notes that I need. Let's talk about the things I did not like about the Phantom Menace. Let's get that out there first. Now, I know this is the most hated prequel film out of them all. Actually, one of the most, out of the original 6, probably the worst prequel. And I will agree it is the worst, but however, I don't really hate it, but let's talk about what I hate in it. Jar Jar fucking Binks. Let's kick it off with him. He is so fucking annoying. I can't stand him. I can't stand him as a character. I get that he's trying to be a comic relief. George Lucas made him for a comic relief. It doesn't work for me, guys. Oh my god, it was a chore to get through, I'll say that. The action is not that good as well in this film. Personally, there's not really, besides the Darth Maul fight sequence with the lightsaber battle was the biggest action set piece that stood out to me the most. Overall, it looked a lot with the CGI as well and special effects. I get that it came out in the 90s, but it looked very cartoony for the most part as well, and it took me out of it. I'm not a big fan of animated things. I've watched some animated films in my lifetime, but I really like when live action with animated just never really works for me personally, and that's what it kind of reminded me of. But I also thought the cinematography and the score by John Williams was very underwhelming, to say the least, in Phantom Menace. It really was, and that's just my overall opinion. But however, Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson in this film, and Natalie Portman, who's sexy as always. I love Obi-Wan in this film. I love Padme, and I love Qui-Gon Jinn. I always pronounce his name wrong, but overall, each of these 3 characters are written really well. Natalie Portman is like 18 years old in this movie, just saying too. I'm 19 right now, whatever. But overall, Qui-Gon, I don't know, whatever the fuck it is. But Liam Neeson's character, and I love Obi-Wan in this film. I actually think Obi-Wan is definitely my top 3 favorite Star Wars characters at the moment. Not watching The Mandalorian, is Luke, Darth, and Obi. So it might change, we'll see. But overall, I love Obi-Wan in this film. I love Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon Jinn. I hope I said that right. But overall, all these characters really make the film for me, like, to get through. Liam Neeson's always got a screen presence, and Ewan McGregor is such a great quality actor, just to say the least. And Darth Maul being the main antagonist, I love me some Darth Maul. I think he's a badass with his dual lightsabers, and that fight sequence, or that lightsaber battle sequence, was dope as fuck. There's no doubting that, and it really was. And I really love it in the outcome of Qui dying in front of Obi, which was very shocking, to say the least, for me as a brand new viewer to this world. And young Anakin, he wasn't as annoying as I was expecting. I heard always like all these talks that young Anakin was annoying, but I really liked him actually. I liked his little subplot with his like racing and that, and meeting C-3PO and R2-D2 for the first time, technically in episode 1. I thought that was all cool as well. But overall, out of the prequel trilogy, this is definitely the weakest one. As I said, there are some things that I really just don't like, Jar Jar Binks, but there are a lot of things that I actually enjoyed in the film overall too. But for me, my opinion, I have to give this film a 6 out of 10. It's slightly above average, and that's my opinion. I could sit down and watch it. It's not that much of a chore, but it's definitely that first half hour of the film that is a chore, and these are longer movies. If you look at the original trilogy, they're about 2 hours each. These are like 2 hours 15 or 20 minutes a pop. So there's that. Now let's get into Attack of the Clones. All right, 10 years after meeting Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan is training Anakin to become the Jedi, the best Jedi ever, and to be able to bring balance to the Force. While there is a problem with an assassination being taken place, with Jango Fett basically pulling all the strings in the background for the most part. So let's talk about what I really enjoyed about Attack of the Clones. It had great action, surprisingly. It had great visuals, and the special effects were really great as well. The fight sequences and the lightsaber battles are awesome. Now, Count Dooku is also in the movie as well. He's also he's more or less the main antagonist, so to speak. There is Jango Fett, like I said, who is pulling the strings in the background with the assassination in the beginning, or in the main plot of the film. But Count Dooku is also the big bad. I really enjoyed Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. I really like him playing this character. Overall, through the whole film too, his character, I really love what he goes through in this film. Learns the ins and outs of being a Jedi. He's a power hungry person. He always wants more than he can have, and I think that was always cool from the get-go. But overall, he's Obi-Wan's successor. He wants to learn all these things that Obi is doing, but he also wants to be better than Obi, and he wants to be able to, or he's learning how to deal with the Force and becoming a Jedi, and dealing with those costs, I guess you would say. And then also dealing with the love of Padme in the film too, meeting her 10 years later, seeing her and falling in love with her. There's so much in this film that Anakin's got to deal with as a character, and I really liked. That's what I really like. If you look at the original trilogy, was basically all Luke. I like how the prequels are all Anakin. However, the Luke trilogy is a lot better than the Anakin trilogy. That's my opinion. But the supporting characters like Padme, played by the beautiful Natalie Portman, R2-D2, Windu, played by Samuel Jackson with his purple lightsaber, and Yoda are great in the film as well. And their reason for being in the film makes completely sense, and that's why I love seeing them. We know the antagonists of Attack of the Clones are basically Count Dooku and Jango Fett. Overall, I love me some Jango Fett. I think he's such a badass. I really do. That Jango Fett, I've always thought was cool for the most part, and seeing him actually in action in this film was actually a treat for me. And seeing young Boba being a clone, which is technically Jango is his father, but Count Dooku is basically the main antagonist. I don't really like him, so to speak. I love Jango Fett being the bounty hunter, and I think he's got an awesome personality, and his tools, his gadgets, his jetpack, that's all dope. That's why I'm getting excited to see the Mandalorian. It's similar to that. But Count Dooku for me is a pretty generic villain for the most part. Forgettable to say the least, and the only thing he did was cut off Anakin's arm. That's all I really remember him for at the moment even. And I will say though, the best part of this film is the final battle sequence. It's like that gladiator sequence with the battle with the clones and the droids and the creatures. It was fucking incredible. I did not even expect this to happen. The CGI in this part too, and the special effects looked phenomenal and really good, surprisingly. And it should be how the CGI should get better as the films go on, and they are, and that's what I'm happy to say. With all the Jedi joining forces with Windu, and seeing Yoda kick ass, and oh my god, it was awesome. It was fucking awesome. But overall, guys, Attack of the Clones is a step up from, a big step up from the Phantom Menace. And like I said, the only thing that really bothered me in the film was a little bit of the first act and a weak villain, to say the least. But overall, the fight sequences, the rest of the story, really well written and directed, so to speak, and the characters are fun to fucking watch as well, and very interesting. Hayden Christensen once again owns Anakin in this film, and overall, guys, I give Attack of the Clones a 7.5 out of 10. Now let's get into the Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith takes 3 years after the Clone Wars, and the Jedi rescue Palpatine from Count Dooku as Obi-Wan pursues a new threat. Anakin acts as a double agent for the Jedi Council and Palpatine, and is lured into a sinister plan to rule the galaxy. As my dog's barking. I just read the synopsis as my dog's fucking barking. Let's talk about what I really like. This film is definitely one of the darkest Star Wars films that is out there. Literally, probably the darkest film I've ever seen for Star Wars. Obviously, I'm not going to watch the sequel, so I don't know how those are, and I fucking love it. The CGI, the special effects are top notch for 2005, I'm not gonna lie. It has an amazing, well-told story of Anakin turning to the dark side of the Force, being power hungry with Emperor Palpatine, and Anakin also turning into Darth Vader. It's such, so to speak. Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are the standouts in this film. Particularly, as much as I love Ewan McGregor in this film, does get me so excited for the Obi-Wan Disney Plus show. Hayden Christensen owns this character of Anakin and Darth Vader. I have to say that. He is phenomenal in this film, and how he turns from being this good Jedi to... Another standout I really enjoyed in this film is Yoda. I thought he had some cool lightsaber battles, and I thought all the action in this film was really well crafted. We know that Anakin kills a Windu as well in the film. He kills kids. Really shows how dark and bad Anakin turns in this film. But I would have to say the best part of this film is the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Guys, you know there's not much more to be said about that. It was brutal. It was scary. It was badass. It was awesome. The choreography between Ewan and Hayden is phenomenal. This was awesome to watch on screen on my 4K TV for the first time. I was like, wow, this is really good. And not to say the least, an amazing score by John Williams. This is a very emotional, really, like, it's probably the emotional film, one of the most emotional films out of the prequels. It is. But it was such a treat to watch. This is definitely the best prequel film out of the prequel trilogy. It's better than A New Hope, in my opinion, too, from the original trilogy. That's my opinion. But overall, guys, it gets me so excited, like I said, for the Obi-Wan series to come out. Gets me excited going into Mandalorian. I cannot wait to keep exploring this world of Star Wars. I can't believe it's 2022 and I'm finally getting into Star Wars after all this time. Guys, I rate Revenge of the Sith a 9 out of 10. Well, guys, there you have it. That is my whole reaction, I guess you would say, watching Star Wars, all 6 films in 2022. I really enjoyed all of them. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Phantom Menace, obviously, and A New Hope are the weakest ones out of each trilogy, in my opinion. But wow, from Empire Strikes Back to the Return of the Jedi to Revenge of the Sith to Attack of the Clones, what a masterpiece of everything that George Lucas has created. Now, what's going to happen, guys, is we are going to go into The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba. Those are my next 2 Star Wars videos to make until Obi-Wan premieres on Disney+. So that is next. I haven't watched Mandalorian season 1 or 2, and I haven't even gotten into the Book of Boba, but I'm excited to see these films. I'm not going to watch the sequels, guys. I just don't, I never had an interest in them. And Rogue One maybe down the line, Solo possibly down the line. I actually seen Solo, but I would have to revisit it. I went with a couple buddies just to watch Solo. I thought it was mildly entertaining, not the best. But guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts below. What is your favorite Star Wars film? Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.